The topic today is hacking Windows security. When we mention hacking Windows security, how do you begin to wrap your brain around what seems so tantamount?
Asset management. It is the top thing that is on the CIS list, and not many people do it correctly. And logging. Once you know what you have, you can just start logging everything, and then you kind of know what's going on in your environment. If you don't do that, you're kind of planning things blind.
You have two axes you're kind of going on. You're trying to increase visibility and you're trying to increase control. We got to address the baseline. So if we know we have a good environment and we know what that environment normally looks like, then the abnormalities stick out.
This comes from Mike Wilkes. Is Windows Core taking off? There's so many vulnerabilities can be avoided if you go, quote, headless on Windows.
Is it taking off? Not in my environments. You have vastly varying different levels of technical competency and deepness of bench. When you might be two admins and one's pretty good at PowerShell scripting and the other one doesn't know how to spell PowerShell, it can be challenging to run like a core environment.
There's a lot of environments out there. People know how to use Windows. They're not necessarily comfortable with automating and managing everything remotely via scripts or command line.
We have Mike Wilkes, the CISO for Security Scorecard. Mike, what's the story?
How about just turning down 3389, running OpenSSH, and doing everything through PowerShell command line anyway, right? And just work around the whole port vector access, right?
We have so many legacy apps that we have to run that are not core compatible. If you're setting up a new AD for us, if we can run on core, let's run it on core and absolutely administer it through automation technologies.
This comes from Jason Connors. What security differences should we consider in a traditional Active Directory environment versus an Azure Active Directory, essentially a non-local Active Directory, those managed devices?
It's easier to do everything when you have a local AD environment, from pivoting from one box to another to iterating all of the Active Directory. You also have increased visibility, right? You can see what PowerShell commands are being run on every device if you want to. In the cloud, you don't really get that.
In the past, you used to have every admin, right, who said, I've got 6 different apps running on this box, but it's going to roll over on memory. Everyone says, I built this server to do something, not to log what I did, right? Obviously, with virtualization and other capabilities and being able to get a lot more out of the silicon we have today, those are very weak arguments.
I like this question from Ian Pointer. What are, you believe, the best and worst things Microsoft has done for security, in your opinion?
All of the cool stuff they're doing with ATP, the amount of visibility that you can get with like all of their cloud infrastructure is really, really cool.
Fix the problems that they caused.
Beat the bad idea. What are the protections you're going to put in place to prevent this horrible idea from doing essentially what it's intended to do? Revert all your systems to Windows 95 and Windows Server 3.0 because no malicious attacker is old enough to know how to breach completely unsecured systems.
So just highly segmented network, which I mean, everybody should have anyways. Everybody gets a full physical firewall.
We would have to radically change the business model and get out of whatever business we're in and get into medical devices because they all run on Windows 95 or Windows 2000 or ME.
Get your security advice from Clippy.
I think you can just like control the library that Clippy pulls from
And you
just
could add your own-
write your own Clippy.
This comes from John. Is LDAP and Active Directory simply overloaded? Looks like it's a hammer and all access management looks like a nail. Are you seeing services that help create a better policy for access management?
Windows wants to make sure you renew, right? Your EA every year. And they want to make sure you get locked into Active Directory, right? All your resources are there and you can do some sort of access control, but don't screw it up because then you'll give everyone group access to everything. They handed a handgun to a toddler and said, don't hurt yourself.
If you do have a highly technical skill set and can set everything up securely, that it can be done really well. It works. How often does LDAP fail and they're not going to go out of business? There are other options, but I do like the centralized management.
This comes from Gabriel Doncel. With most folks working from home, how important is it to fast track Intune versus SCCM, WSUS, etc.?
You know, I cannot confirm nor deny if we were immediately fast tracking Intune when the pandemic happened. We basically had to redo everything and do a security transformation where everything had to be available, scalable, had to be location agnostic.
Sean, I will let you take it from here.
Make all end user systems domain controllers to improve replication. and put all of your Windows devices directly on the internet with no firewall and the guest account enabled.
All right. So which scenario is worse?
What the worst scenario is making all devices a domain controller. It's 99 problems instead of 100.
Yeah, I agree with Arlie. You would have everything replicate in seconds across, all thousands of domain controllers, and no way to fix it really if you get locked out or whatever. So logging, definitely. That's what we try and do best. If you ever have any questions about it, just reach out to me or like any of our salespeople. I'm not super salesy, but I can tell you all the technical stuff. Get logging right, get asset management right, and spay and neuter your pets.
When you go into an environment, make a plan and do it. You're going to break things. You got to own it when you break it and be apologetic and explain why you're doing it, but continue to move forward. Don't let the organization slow you down in making it more secure. As a mission, your mission there, right, is to help secure the environment and make it easier for your users to leverage the infrastructure.